Crap! I gotta get out of here! How fortuitous!
Hey! Hey!
Why doesn't it go? Stop right there! How can you still move?
I always keep a health pack under my pillow.
But why would you do that? Huh? When video games started, one of the first ideas was just putting games and sports that already existed into a more practical form. Among them, of course, were the race games. As time went by, this kind of game was made better and occasionally got something new, like cars that don't disappear in the dark, miniature racing, and even simulators with incredibly high levels of realism. And while simulating cars in a slightly less realistic way, just in case you want to have some fun, a particular kind of race a bit more fantastic became even more popular. I think we all know what I'm talking about. And with the success of the game that must not be named cause they might sue, everyone wanted to make a version. And since this is the month of the Muppets, our example is going to be Muppets Race Mania. First of all, what do you think when you turn on your game and see this? And no, it cannot be a gigantic penis with eyes and mouth. It's not a hentai! Besides that, this is a body part that grows way bigger than you think it could, and has hair on top of it. Clearly bigger is the clitoris of a hyena. Nickelodeon. But let's be fair here, the game makers knew they were getting into a very crowded subgenre. Not only they put scenes from the movies to better situate the tracks, together with jokes from the two old men from the balcony to help create the atmosphere.
So here we are in merry old England.
I wish I were in my merry old bed. Oh!
They made sure to give plenty of options for characters, and apparently you can unblock not only more characters, but also new cars. And, believe you me, Ubisoft and Konami, these are extras you get for free, just for playing the game. Unfortunately, the game isn't fun enough to make me play again and again until I got even one of them. Why? Because the cars don't control well. When I started playing, I simply couldn't drive. I then changed to the most stable character according to the game itself, and it made no difference. The only way I could drive here was with quick nudges on the stick. And still, with the most stable character, I had difficulty. Granted, I'm emulating, but Symphony of the Night works fine. Symphony of the Night. Symphony of the Night. Oh yeah, the review. The biggest reason is that the cars are too fast for this kind of control. Of course, no race game maker is going to want to reduce the speed, but with no control, it doesn't matter how fast they are. In fact, it's worse if they are fast because the AI always know where to go. You don't. The tracks are based on the Muppets movies, and I must say there's a lot of variety here, all being reasonably worked in the details and some being really pretty. But the design really doesn't take the speed into account. In the England stage inspired by the Muppets Christmas Carol, for instance, there's a break in the middle that makes you go to one side and then go 180 right after. And that could be good and challenging, but not with these controls. All tracks have alternate paths, which is interesting, but again, with this control and this speed, they are almost necessary. Besides that, they are sometimes obvious and sometimes not, so it's easy to go in the exit. No, I'm not talking about Gonzo. I mean, not that Gonzo. And end up going backwards. But maybe you'll have fun trying to find them and use them? Of course, like any clone of the game that must not be mentioned, you have items. Along the tracks you can get stars that give you said items and vegetables that fill your test tube thingy. This is your boost fuel, which looks like you use the vegetables to make Mexican food. And if you wait until it's full, you can use a special attack. All of them apparently forcing your enemies to stay still for some time while showing something related to the character that used it. The items are few but reasonably logical. You got fish that are shot forward, and that's it. Bombs that bounce around a bit before exploding. Penguins that work like landmines, and chicken that fall on the nearest enemy a little. Also, you can have two items simultaneously, giving you a bit of choice as to what you use. And you can accumulate stars to have another item as soon as you use the one being shown. Go! And if you wanna have any chance, you need to use every item and path you find. Once again, because of the controls. On top of that, having to go through 6 races is way too much and you get tired of the game even if you were able to keep a good position. Yet, never fear, because even if you can't drive, you'll probably tie for 3rd or 4th place. Your place in the tournament depends not only on your position, but on how many times you hit someone. That might have been to create that game where no one loses, but here in the real world, you don't see your efforts bear fruit when you don't get there, and you don't see your efforts bear fruits later unless you have a good position from the start, because the first places tend to accumulate a lot of points. But Fernando, why would you show a chaotic version of... Shh? Because it is a chaotic version of... But unlike most of them, it knows it's a chaotic version of it, and it uses it. There is a secondary mode in which a group of Muppets get items and attacks one another, until all of them lose their energy and there's only one left.
Should we try again?
And it is 1,000 times more fun than trying to win a race, even though you have to do it too many times here too.
If it were up to me, I wouldn't let him drive in the bedroom.
If it were up to me, I wouldn't let them drive at all. Oh!
And why does this work better, even without so many items? Because here, you need to get slower and aim, and when you speed up to escape, not having a fluid path adds to the chase atmosphere. Also, even if you don't have items, you can attack hitting against other Muppets, giving the boost another function, and you can combine that with items strategically. Yeah, you can make combos. If the game was just this, with tracks and items more directed to this, it would be much better. The special attacks, for instance, are almost worthless in the races because you need to not use the boost in order to stop all of them and advance. But here they are great because everyone gets stuck and the one who used it can just attack until it's over. In other words, this is a horrible race game, but a great dodge and bump against them game. Oh, excuse me. Wow! How did you know where I was going to be? You were just driving in circles, dude. It doesn't matter. You shot me first. If I'm going to jail, you're going with me! But I'm a human being. You're just a sock. Maybe a hand. I'm 10/11ths more human being than you. But why? It's a for the joke that must not be mentioned, wise guy.